Howdy SMITE fans, it's J-Mac. Look, we had to take a break from the SPL this past week, and that's because we had the SMITE Circuit playoffs happen just this past weekend. The double elimination tournament where we brought in the top teams from both of our amateur regions. 8 teams, 2 regions, but only 4 of them can make it to the SWC placement rounds happening in mid-December. But let's take a dip into the North American side of the bracket and see what all happened in this week's special edition of the SMITE Circuit Recap. And on our first day of the weekend, nobody was going to get eliminated, but it does set the stage for the remainder of our weekend. The first set of the day for the North Americans was the number 1 seeded Winter Dogs against the 4th seed Sleekness. A dominant performance out of the jungle and the hunter roles of Sleekness was able to net themselves a nice 2-0 clean victory over the Winter Dogs. And our second set featured the 2nd seed Herculean Hoofs against the 3rd seed Sturdy Artisans. The Hoofs struggled in Game 1 against the Onyx Umoja, but with some quick adjustments both on and off the battleground, the Hoofs were able to take a clean Game 2 and 3 over the Artisans and take the set. Our first elimination set of the day kicks off with the Winter Dogs taking on the Sturdy Artisans. It seems like the Winter Dogs had to learn the same lesson that the Hoofs did. Ionic picks up Umoja game number 1, and despite Benny Q's best efforts on his set mid, the Dogs are just unable to withstand the late game prowess of the Sturdy Artisans. Game number 2, the Umoja is off the table, and the Winter Dogs' answer back is Sybil's Ares and Kirmi's Loki. The Winter Dogs make short work of the Artisans' defense and roll right through to tie the set. And our final game was the dual lane of the Winter Dogs once again on a tear. Despite the best efforts of the Sturdy Artisans, they could only at best maintain a small deficit before the damage of Benny Q and Wowie completely overwhelmed them. The Winter Dogs take the set and eliminate the Sturdy Artisans with a 2-1 victory. Well, now on the upper half of the bracket for our second set, we have the Herculean Hoofs taking on Sleekness. Game 1 started as a fairly close matchup, but Dude Man Bro 429 steps up big yet again for the team. An early killing spree puts him too far ahead for the Hoofs to deal with, and he and Oath slam home game number 1. And in game number 2, it's Oath who dominates the early game. The Hoofs struggle mightily up against the onslaught of the jungler. In a late game Fire Giant fight, Oath puts up a triple kill to crush the Hoofs. Sleekness move on to the grand finals with a 2-0 victory. Well, it's day number 3, and now joining the Winter Dogs on the lower half of the bracket, it's the Herculean Hoofs to face off and face potential elimination. Game number 1 starts with the Dogs duo lane and Kirmi taking early control. And once they transition to the mid game, it was all about Aquarius making huge waves in the team fights and pushing his team to a Game 1 win. In game number 2, the Hoofs, with some interesting picks, struggled to keep Benny Q at bay. In a post 20-minute fight in the right jungle, Benny Q lines up a perfect triple ultimate and seals the fate of the Hoofs, sending the number 2 seed packing. The Winter Dogs advance to the grand finals. Well, Sunday is around, and it hosts our grand finals between the Winter Dogs and Sleekness. Now, Sleekness have a 1-game advantage because they're coming from the upper half of the bracket. Game number 2, Dude Man Bro gets a comfort pick and is allowed to roam and fight with very little punishment. He and Chronic control both sides of the map and push the Winter Dogs back to take game number 2. Game number 3 is all about Benny Q and Kirmi. The Loki jungle comes back out again, and there's little answer to it. And surprisingly, this Sun Wukong mid was also just a little too much for Sleekness to handle. Winter Dogs roll over Sleekness and take game 3. But the weird picks do not stop. No, they continue here in game number 4 when the Winter Dogs decide to draft a Cabrakan mid for Benny Q. But it's all about Wowie right out of the gate for the duo lane here of the Winter Dogs, causing major issues. An early triple kill and an utter bloodbath of a first half of a game puts the Winter Dogs too far ahead, and they tie up the series 2-2. And in game number 5 of this best of 5 series, it's the Sleekness duo lane that just cannot be touched. Sybil and Dude Man Bro, now aptly named Dude Man Goat 429, steamroll the Winter Dogs all game long. And in a final desperate act to fight back, the Winter Dogs force a fight in the left jungle and get wiped. Sleekness run it down mid and claim their victory with a 3-2 set. And there you have it. Sleekness and the Winter Dogs are the 2 teams moving on to the SWC placement rounds out of the North American region. Now, we won't see any more of the SCC or the SOC for the remainder of the year until those placement rounds. But that doesn't mean we're shy of anything esports related. No, we've got the SPL group stages starting back up this Friday at 11 a.m. EST. Make sure that you tune in, but if you miss out on any of our SMITE esports action, don't worry, I'll always have you covered on our weekly recaps.